Hey everyone, my name's Hunter Irby. I'm the program director of the Iota chapter of Gamma Xi Phi Fraternity for Artists. I'm happy to see everyone here, and I want to let everyone know that I'm thankful for everyone to be here. And today I'm here to talk to y'all about my chapter's event, How Art Can Heal. It is a event that is very near and dear to my heart as both an artist and someone who has struggled throughout, just life in general to get to where he is today. And I wanted to both show everyone that one, art is something that is powerful, influential, and can help you be in a better place than just being without it. And two, I wanted to be able to be vulnerable because, as a lot of people in the South, a lot of people in the North, everywhere, and not just, Black men, but everyone, it's hard to be vulnerable and transparent about emotions. And by doing so, I wanted to be able to help anyone who's been going, through life in a struggle, because it's something that I believe binds everyone together as a people. So this event will mainly manifest in kind of a connection of sorts. I want to be able to explain a little bit about my background as both a person and graphic designer to kind of make everything a little bit more comfortable, as well as explain how art as both a therapy can progress you to maybe not perfect, because as we all know, mental health and mental well-being is real, but it is hard to get out a slump. We've all been there, but it can help you along the way. So with that, I want to introduce myself as Hunter the person, not just program director. I'll start with 2020 and just sort of make it a little bit more of a short lived. 2020 was a very hard year for me, as I'm sure it is for everybody. On top of the pandemic, for me, it was school. Life had been a struggle. I had just lost my grandmother, and trying to graduate was something that was pulling me apart in every direction. That being said, trying to graduate, I stumbled upon my idea for my senior thesis, which was how basically a background and history of how Black men were portrayed in media. Through doing that, I learned more about history, and it pulled me a little bit out of my slump after dealing with my grandmother's passing and the overall travesty of the pandemic on both my family as well as my job. It was a very hard time. And, even before then, it was a struggle, but it just all culminated in 2020. And with that, I actually failed my final senior thesis. And it really ripped me up inside, to say the least. And I went through a bit of a depression, and, for a time, I cried myself to sleep here and there. I just felt useless. But that was in the spring. In the fall semester, I went back to school and I took my senior thesis course. And with that, I really put my full effort into creating my piece, which was a magazine called Positive Shift. And I really just tried to put everything into learning more about Black history, putting more emphasis on different pieces of artwork in there, working on typography, all the basic graphic design needs I need to graduate. And closer to the middle of it and the end of it, I started to feel better. Of course, time heals all wounds, but being able to put yourself in a position of working on something, creating something, can truly help you become better. And, here I am today in front of you, I am a graduate of Troy University. And that in itself is something that early 2020, I did not think I would make it to see. It's hard, to talk about struggles and really be transparent, but depression was a very strong thing. And with that, truly art is something that I find to be a building block to make you a better person and make you feel more fulfilled in your life. So with that being said, I wanted to bring a few more examples of how art binds us all together as people. We all know that, for example, music is one of the arts that everyone really feels, it touches everybody. And is very good for the musicians, the singers, to create more of a catharsis for their feelings. Now, I know everyone here has been through a certain heartbreak, has been through another type of struggle, losing jobs, losing faith, losing a close family member, especially within 2020 and on coming into 2021. But in and of itself, music can truly help bind you to the person who creates said music. I cannot understate the power of music, as well as, just any art form in and of itself. But it helps build up your connection to people of the past. And that's one of the strongest things I can really say about music. After my grandmother passed, funny enough, listened to Grandma's Hand on repeat, and it struck a chord with me that I never did before. And with that, it brought a lot of emotions back, but it really struck a chord with me about how, I've never met the singer, but he understood exactly what I was going through at the time. Again, to reiterate, art binds us together. Now, that's just one example, of course, and the other, with my project being another example. But art does have the power to connect us. We all are either artists or creators, or we have been in contact with art throughout our entire lives and maybe have never even thought about it. But it is something that heals. Again, with art therapy as a whole, it can both, well, not even just both, it has so many applications throughout your life, it cannot be understated. It can help with your self-esteem, it can help with your self-expression, it helps with just overall processing of emotions. And with that process of emotion comes the feeling that, hey, piece by piece, you can get better and you can ultimately become a little bit better over time. And just looking at everything art can bring, I wanted, in fact, to just bring apart how it overall helps you. Sorry, this brings back a lot of, rough memories, but again, I want to be vulnerable with everybody. The impact of art has led me to where I am today. And, I'm here right now talking to all of you because of art. I found Gamma Xi Phi at a rough time in my life. I was actually working 56 hours a week when I contacted our president to try and see if maybe we can bring it down here. And on top of that, struggling with work, struggling with school, I managed to make it. And, through talks, it was nice, fun, it was warm, inviting. It was the collaboration of, me and Rashid and Sean and Jarnell and everybody. We, and then, we started the beginnings of creating the Iota chapter. And then with that, talking with other artists, my chapter, was eventually formed. And I basically got a family just through our love of the arts. Chris Wallace, Sierra Brinson, Sonny Paul, Bill Williams, VL, they became a family. And that's simply because we were all artists, and it connected, art connected all of us together and made my life so much better. And now I have more family than I can even understand. Again, I want to reiterate, art brings us together. And even though it was a struggle to get to where we are, I'm a better person. I want to, actually, Brother Rashid, can you unmute everyone real quick? Is that a possibility that we can do?
We can ask everyone to unmute, and I will go down and do that now. Oop.
Gotcha.
Sorry to the person I just muted by mistake.
Sorry, I know this is a little impromptu, but I wanted to have everyone unmuted just so I could ask y'all a few questions. A little crazy, but I want, if possible, for everyone to try and answer this, they're yes or no questions. For these first three, it's going to be a matter of just yes and no's. Who here, has anyone experienced heartbreak?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, my heart is cold and numb.
DC.
Other than Sean. Let's see. Has anyone experienced death in the family?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Let's see. Has anyone just had a struggle with work?
Yes.
Daily.
And work has struggled with me.
Now, I asked all these questions to kind of iterate or reiterate that we're all connected. Life offers us beatings more than we think, but at the end of the day, everyone has struggled. Everyone has gone through heartbreak. Everyone has gone through problems with work. Everyone has had to handle death in the family. Everyone has had to, come up through something to get to where they are. And that being said, well, if this was in person, you look to your left, look to your right, kind of like a church service. But, since we're on Zoom, look at your screen, kind of minimize it. And we're all connected. And, that, and I know we all here have listened to a type of song to make us feel some type of way. We've watched movies. I know everyone through the pandemic has looked up something from Netflix or Disney Plus or Hulu or whatnot, and that is engulfing and internalizing different parts of art. We've used it as not, I wouldn't even say, a crutch, but it's something that has alleviated stress, alleviated, kind of takes us away from what goes on in our lives, but also impacts us in a way that we almost can't even consider or even dream about, but it makes life, puts us in a position where we need art. And when we need art, we are connected through its overexpansive everything. And, you know, all of us here are artists in some way, shape, or form or fashion. And that is another connection. Art facilitates collaboration and both an understanding of it, while life facilitates a unknown connection between all of us that we never really thought of. And it's crazy, but it heals us in ways that we can't even fathom. And I'm here today with it because of it. And all of you are here in some type of way because of it. And it's something that is both beautiful and has guided me towards all of you and has guided all of us towards each other and has pushed us to develop an understanding. If everyone will go on mute one more time, I want to ask you all, or just every person, just give me one song and one artistic activity that you do when you are in times of either trouble or struggle.
I'll say I paint circles because I know I can control circles and layers and layers and layers. And there's no one telling me the circle is wrong. It's a circle. So I got it right. And I'd say more of a recent song. There's so many songs, but I'll say Bigger by Beyonce because I have a legacy and it is everything I do is bigger than me and how I'm feeling and not to center myself.
I know for me, I write. I will take pen to paper, old school style, and put down some verses. And that's a way that I emote. And music is a happy place for me. So I really understand what you're saying, Brother Hunter. But one of my go-tos, if I'm feeling kind of down or, think I might be starting a low-grade depression, I'll just turn on Harvest for the World by Isley Brothers, and it just gets me going. And I guess then the last thing, because I don't want to hog the conversation, is sometimes if we're in a situation, we're trying so hard to figure something out, but really the answer is very simple. We have the answers, and it's kind of like, maybe we should go back to the basics, right? You might be thinking like if you're in sports, you have this really difficult play you're trying to do, but sometimes all you need is a layup to make the point. So I think that when it comes to the basics, if we just remember to start being thankful and showing gratitude, and if you just say it over and over, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that, then whatever we are experiencing may not seem so big, when we realize how much we have to be grateful for.
Well, me personally, I have 3 activities that kind of center me and bring me back. I love cooking. Reading brings me to a quiet place. I can cut off everything, sit in my little library area and read. And then real physical activity, like working out, especially hitting the heavy bag. When I say you can just, whoever you upset with that day, if you can imagine they face on that punching bag, and the safest way to get out your aggressions without an assault charge, But cooking is my go-to. Cooking is my happy place, and I love experimenting. So, and the great thing about cooking is, you get to taste your mistakes.
I know for me, what I do is I read. I'm parenting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Reading is always a good space.
I like to go to walk in the park, clear my mind, try to find something else other than like, the city. And then for music wise, I like Mary J. Blige, like My Life or Be Happy.
My musical, it depends on if I'm trying to be cathartic and get the cry out versus trying to make myself feel better. I like that Chris mentioned Mary J. Blige, because Deep Inside was like that, cathartic song, especially if my issue was involving another person. And of course, you change the lyrics around. So you say, I'm just plain old Rashid. And it works. It may work for you too. You may want to try it. In terms of activities, for me, meeting for worship in the Quaker tradition is helpful for me. I attend my regular meeting on Sundays, but then there's one for people of color virtually on Wednesdays at 1. And of course, creatively, like the writing thing, as Sean will hit the punching bag, and, I avoid the murder charges by killing off characters in my books.
Right. Oh, does anyone else want to give their?
Yeah, I'm gonna say now, since I've laughed so incredibly loud on the record. So it's great to see that there's a lot of Mary J. Blige fans, right? Like Mary J. is my go-to for a lot of stuff, right? If I'm really angry, you got to fight it out. She's got songs for that. If you just really depressed and want to be in your stuff, she's got stuff for that. And in conjunction with that, I am a huge, real serious rock guitar fan. So sometimes it's Jimmy Page, you know what I mean? So it depends, right? It depends. I'm really eclectic in my musical taste. In terms of the activity, I guess this is artistic. I will meditate. I need just some real kind of quiet time. And if it's not that, then we'll dance in the house to the music I'm playing. That really kind of just the movement helps. So.
Right
You all make me feel like you guys are so much more sophisticated than I am. I'm a huge Tribe Called Quest fan. I will play Description of a Fool day in and day out, and it can definitely put me into mode, if you will. In terms of activities, I'm a huge daydreamer. I would not consider myself a novelist or anything of that nature, but I definitely jot down notes and ideas and short sketches on a regular, just as it's definitely therapeutic, and it kind of keeps me level. So I would say that's an activity that gets me through the tough moments.
For me, my release is to take pictures, whether it's just general static shots or to do portraiture. I am a huge fan of photography, and it gives me an opportunity to be able to focus and step outside of that moment that's, I guess, taking control of my life at that time, right? Trying to find some way to control the turmoil, I guess, for lack of a better description. For music, it really depends on what mood I'm in, but typically it's either Break Every Chain by Tasha Cobbs, or if I'm really about it that day, it might be Big Papa by B.I.G. So it really depends on how I feel that day.
My go-to is listening to music and also lettering. And I have a bunch of different songs, but the one that came to mind is Golden by Jill Scott. I like listening to that song a lot.
Well, I if I'm having a particularly bad day or something, I will go and I'll just get away from everything I'm doing and I'll talk to one of my friends and we'll find something. She'll say something to make me laugh, or I'll say something to make her laugh, and it'll help me forget whatever it is I'm going through. I mean, 9 times out of 10, actually 10 out of 10, we're gonna laugh about something, and then I've forgotten what it is. I'm worrying or bothering me, and then my go-to music, I'll listen to anything. Most of the time, if I do my little master class, recording, because I was needing some type of outlet. So I was recording myself performing and doing things. That's how I was getting over certain issues. So I'll listen to a singer. I love Mary J. Blige. I love all these people, but I'd rather sit in front of the piano and just play, even if it's a different scale or something. It helps me.
Cool. Anybody else?
Well, dang, I think I'm the only person that hasn't gone, so I feel obligated to. But it's like Rashid said, depending on which way I want to go is which music I'll listen to, because I spent 20 years listening to Morrissey and just causing myself depression, but I think
self-inflicted pain.
Yeah, exactly. Poor me. But to speak to what Manda said, and actually how Hunter started off the hour was, as I've gotten older, I've been able to stop those spirals and focus more on like the universal part that I play, and how everybody is connected in these emotions and feelings, and how I'm not just the most important person in the world, but also everybody else is feeling the same way I am, at some point or the other. So that the connectivity is what I try to focus on when I find myself, getting down and low. Now I feel, and like Chris was saying, just being outside and walking my dogs, just get fresh air, remembering it's not all about me. The world does not revolve around me. And, so that's been my 35 plus coping mechanism. Like I would say, 20s was a whole different thing.
And see, like, this is what I'm talking about. It's everyone here either creates something, based off of like artistic principles. Like, it's creating circles, it's creating literature, it's finding the catharsis with people you don't like by killing them off inside your book. It's simply walking out and enjoying the beauty and art that just is here on earth, and taking the time to look at the literature and the holy text and of whatever religion, and just having it there to ruminate on, or just even daydreaming, creating, like, ruminating in the art of the mind. Those are all stepping stones to get better, and in it, that is the art and the connectivity that has everyone happy. And with music, it's, you're over here either listening to something that's going to make you mad and go out and work out like Sean over there, or working it and using it to meditate and finding a different center of self. It's therapy. Art heals, whether it be something you create or something that you look at. It brings you to a better plane of existence. And as we have all seen, we've all been connected through different things like heartache and worry and anxiousness and anger, and we have all taken the time to work with ourselves in an artistic light And I think that is something to say about how art can heal. And it's wonderful. And as we've all can see, we're all here, man. Like, despite everything that has happened in our lives, we're here. And we have become, connected, whether we are in this fraternity or not. As you can see, we all have a certain basis of understanding that the human experience is something that is collaborative. And to everyone who will watch this in the future, these are just a handful of techniques to get better, and step by step things is everyone's different, but we all turn to art as a way to feel something. And, throughout the pandemic, I've noticed it, throughout everywhere I have, seen it beforehand, even before the pandemic. It connects us. So it heals us in a way that we can never think of. With that, I I really can't think of anything else to say, but I am more than willing to answer any questions that anyone has about how, to use art in different ways to become better. It's just crazy to think I know that it's hard, especially nowadays, but I'm like, only 25, but I'm more than willing to answer any questions that anybody has or any possible ways to get through a slump, because Lord knows I've been through some.
Well, art and all forms of creativity are what move us and drive us. I remember listening to my mom talk to her friends when I was a kid, and all of the younger generation holler Mary J. Blige, Mary J. Blige. But before that, you wanted to talk about somebody making a hit song when they was down and depressed, you go to Phyllis Hyman and Aretha Franklin. My mama was like, every time Aretha got her heart broke, baby, she went platinum. And Phyllis, I felt all her pain. I mean, every song she sang, and I mean, I wish I could have met her. I loved her. We'd still be married to this day. I would have worshipped her. She would have had no reason to commit suicide. And, but it's crazy that when we look at artists and comedians and, they perform for us and they pour out their soul to us, and we have certain thoughts, expressions, and expectations of them, but we don't really know what they're going through. Robin Williams, it's like, wow. All those laughs he gave me going back to Mork and Mindy when I first saw him standing on his head on the sofa, and all the laughs he gave me all the way through all his movies and stand-up specials. And I mean, this man had been suffering with deep depression for years, and it just makes me think of the Smokey Robinson and the Miracle song, Tears of a Clown. We wear that mask, we hide our pain, and I'm glad that we are together, united, and we can, come to one another or share in events like this, because you can reach out to me. I'm not a licensed therapist, but I worked in the mental health field for over 11 years, and I can possibly even give you a referral to a good therapist, because I know quite a few. But I mean, that's what we have to do. Don't hold it inside, because it'll eat us up, and it might push us to that point of no return, like some of those other people I mentioned already.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, Sean. I mean, don't you think, and you too, Hunter, don't you think as artists we feel things deeper? Things affect us more because we are so much more in tune with, you know, the universe. And then art has to heal us. And yeah, but good point to bring up, Sean.
Indeed, indeed. I think, you know, we feel a lot deeper, and then we have to find a way to get it out. So that's where these paintings, these pictures, these poems, these books, you know, Rashid must have been going through it, baby, because he kill off all the folks. He don't spare no whole lot of folks.
Listen, yes. Yes. But
Creatively, I might add too.
Yeah, the more creative, the more complex the trauma. But for Hunter, Sean really alludes to something that I think is worth, just asking. At what point is the healing of art not enough? And at what point do you make the decision that you can't do it on your own and that you might need a therapist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist? What are some of the signs that the burden is too heavy and you should reach out?
Some of the signs are definitely, from my personal experience, it's when you almost don't feel anything. It's almost a culmination of the sadness or the anger or everything. It's when it all becomes so much, you feel like you have nowhere to go, and you just stop feeling anything other than almost just jumping off into the abyss of no turning back. It's a feeling that you don't, almost like you feel scared to talk to anybody about. That I have actually gone through almost 2 attempts, one when I was like 13 and one when I was 20. And it is almost as if the world has shrunken and you have nowhere to go but nowhere. And when you feel that emotions are only a mask and you feel empty on the inside, it's almost, that is almost past the point where you need to see someone, but it is past the point where we need to see someone. But if you ever, to anyone who ever feels that there is nothing inside you, that is when I highly, and I can't stress it enough, find help. There's, in the artistic community, we are all empathetic to whatever happens to another artist, not just the ones high up, for example, the ones that Sean explained, Robin Williams, he had struggled with depression for years. And if you look at his talks closer to the time and even prior and even throughout bits and pieces of his career, he's like, he loved the craft of comedy. He loved the craft of acting. It almost came seamlessly to him. But when it all came down to what can I do to alleviate this pain, the pills may not be enough. Talking about it makes me just worried and empty and scared about what they'll do. He took his life. And, us as artists, we have to acknowledge that you can do so much. I know some of the most beautiful artwork, some of the most beautiful songs have come from heartache or hard times, struggling through life, but they're honestly, I'll say at any point when the conversations come to an end and you feel like there's nothing in those conversations that you can empathize with, or you feel like there is nowhere else to go, you find whatever help that you can find. Therapy is expensive, yes, and catharsis through art helps placate, but therapy is the way to go. When you feel like when you feel that, pulling the trigger is the way, or drinking yourself to death is the way, therapy is perfect. May not completely end the pain, or may not completely stop you from getting ultimately better, because at the end of the day, depression is something that stays with you, but it helps you cope. Same thing with art, same thing with talking to your fellow man and women, everybody. Therapy is the best way. And, if you ever feel like suicide is the answer, Lord, I had it written down, but definitely please talk to the suicide hotline, or even your local police services, they'll come, the emergency services, to stop you from doing so. Maybe they can offer you different types of treatment, because once you commit to it, it's really hard to come back from, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent, but when you need help, find help, is all I can say, truthfully. Yeah.
You, Hunter.
Why not?
I said thank you.
Oh, yeah. Does anybody else have have any questions for me? I know I went on a bit of a deeper thing, but it comes from the heart. And I will say to everyone watching now, and anyone watching in the future, these are things that helped me in times of struggle, and I hope that they'll help you. One, first, more than anything, I want everyone here to know that you're loved. In this society, we don't say it as often as we should, but you're loved. Two, as hard as things get, you can overcome them. Three, it gets hard, but I can tell you from experience that by enduring it and pushing forward, you can find what makes you happy. And for friends and family and everyone around you is a part of you in some way, and you carry them with you. But, it's ultimately what you do in any situation, through artistic means or through whatever you do, there are ways to get around it. Suicide, or, suicide is the ultimate answer to any question for hard times, but I say that living and doing what you can is the biggest triumph that anyone can have, period. Life is hard, but we make it work. Yeah. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much both my spiel. as Hunter the person and Hunter the artist. Does anyone else have any more questions? I will try to answer them as best I can in terms of just anything about how to do anything.
How do you,
Mhm.
when you aren't feeling at your best, share that with the rest of Iota chapter? Or who do you go to besides your therapist when you have these down moments and you really need to talk to somebody?
For me personally, I have been more than blessed with my chapter, which they'll tell you, they'll be like, Hunter's kind of slow on telling us stuff, but a recent event happened and they were almost the first ones I let know. I'm blessed beyond beliefs to still have my mother around. She has been, we may have struggled with times, may have argued here and there, but she has been one of the major rocks in my life. My fiance Jessica has seen me cry more than most people around me, but she has been there when times have been tough, and I, of course, Iota chapter has been there when I'm trying to be more open to let more people in, and just of course throughout all of my other fraternities, I've talked to my OBs or I've talked to close friends from middle school that I still have. Overall, it's my ever growing and shrinking network of close friends and found family and family that I go to. And, now everyone here as well, but it's always been people who I build up the trust with. And, it's hard to build trust. You have to let people in. But at the end of the day, it's something I'm very happy that I have. Friends, family, and the ability to open up when things get hard.
Was that something you had to practice like any other art form? Was it something you had to, just get better at, being more vulnerable and letting people in and trusting people, that sort of thing?
Yeah. It was a skill I had at a young age, and then heartache happened, heartbreak happened, life got hard. At one point, still in high school, I was working like 3 jobs, but I like didn't want to let people know all the situation around me. So I started to close myself off. And, as when I got to college, it was a skill that I could easily have friends, but I couldn't let them all the way in to who I was as a person. And it's only been recently, with goading from like my fiance, my mother, really close friends, have I been able to realize that this is a skill that you have to acknowledge, train, but also be wary of at the same time, because you can only, people being so trusting is hard because people will take advantage of you. But at the same time, having that trust has made me feel fulfilled. And I will definitely say it's a leap of faith to train it, but it is a skill that, almost like a double-edged sword, you sharpen it, but ultimately it is a good skill to have, even if someone messes with your trust or messes with this, because you can still open up to others kind of be. So yes, it is a skill that needs to be trained up. It starts out inherently good, but it's through turmoil, it is something that you need to focus on to get better at, to be able to be closer to everyone, I guess you could say.
Well, thank you. And thank you for making yourself so vulnerable in this space for us today. I think, you know, if I may speak for everybody, I'm sure that you've touched all of us. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah. But yeah, guys, I love all y'all, by the way. Oh, yeah, of course. But yeah, in terms of, oh yeah, I will reiterate, you know, life is hard, but it's a collaborative effort, and you know, we get better over time. And you know, it's I'm glad to be here with all of y'all. I'm glad, you know, that I've hopefully touched everybody in some way, you know, like emotionally. And again, I do want to reiterate, you know, I don't know a lot of like everyone here very well, but y'all are friends, family, fellow artists, you know, and y'all are going to be on your way to do great things. And, you know, even though we struggle and the pandemic is still going around here, and, you know, there's so many other things that I don't know about everyone here, or that, you know, everyone watching, everyone here is powerful in their own way, and putting yourself in a vulnerable place is hard, but ultimately, like now, it's fulfilling. You know, so wounded and raw and varied and everything else, but there is so much that everyone has to offer. And, you know, not just through art, but, you know, to society. And, you know, this is something hard to talk about, but I'm glad that, you know, this is almost a check on me event for everybody here, you know, like checking up on everybody, seeing how y'all are doing. It's something that needs to be done more often. And, you know, not just through artistic means, but just through means in general. Yeah. Yeah. Brother Rashid, can you give the closing captionings, or what before that? Does anyone else have any questions for me on how to handle like life stuff?
Breathe. Let it all out. If you gotta scream, holler, hit, I'm telling you, it's more room out than in.
Yeah.
Don't hold it inside.
Definitely. It's all about how you see the world, and it's hard, but you know, sometimes don't just let everything, like just like Sean said, don't let everything stay inside. That's how it builds up. That's how it pollutes the mind, the spirit, and everything around you. Sometimes you just gotta scream, and sometimes you just gotta let it out in some way, shape, form, or I forgot the other one, but
Passion.
Oh, what now? Oh yeah, passion. Yeah. There's like you put into your passion. Put every struggle you have into what you want to see done in the world. And I think, you know, that's something that you can like pin up and write down because it's important. But for that's pretty much all I can even think of to say. This has been an hour of deep conversation and introspection and vulnerability. And I hope everyone who watches this realizes that that is something that is both to be admired and to be respected. It's hard, but it gets better. Art is a way to use everything that you have built up to create something positive. Use what you learn here or what you learn at your time as you grow to help others, because everything that we do as, you know, humanity in general is a collaborative effort. And, you know, it's all about being together at this point. For everyone watching, if you want to learn more about this fraternity and what we're about, please follow gammasci.com. It is a way to learn more about us and what we do. For anyone who wants to learn more about, Lord knows, art stuff and everything, you know, if you struggle, please look for solace in friends, family, and everything that you care about. And when it becomes too hard, please contact, you know, whatever nearest therapist or psychologist you can find. If, you know, because things do get hard. But I'm more than thankful for everyone here, and I'm glad that we'd have this conversation. And I hope everyone has a wonderful time, just with everything. Yeah, that's all I can say. Are there any other closing captions that you may need to say, Rashid? I always forget what to say.
So, Hunter, on behalf of everybody gathered here, we just want to thank you for this wonderful event, for sharing your story. And we also thank you for your leadership of Iota chapter in Montgomery and Southeast Alabama.